What is up, podheads? Back with another episode of the Podio Slate podcast. My name is Tony. I'm joined, as always, by Anthony and Nate. And guys, I gotta say it. I don't think there's any other music podcast out there with our range. I really don't. I think we're it. I think the group of people we've had the last 3 weeks are all awesome, are all different in their own right. And man, like, I think we slayed all 3 interviews.
Yeah, I mean, we had Long Island hardcore drummer, we had metalcore vocalist, and this week, frontman of, I don't know, one of the biggest bands of the last 20 years, right? I mean, that's range.
That's range. I can see us going down the high school hallway right now. We're like a chameleon. We just like change by every different t-shirt. We change into that like fucking metal show t-shirt to like pop punk to like Britney Spears.
Nate and your spiky new metal hair.
Yeah.
Hey, the episodes coming. The episodes keep coming and they don't stop coming, right? So we just keep doing it.
And are you calling back to Smash Mouth's All-Star right there?
That was subtle, maybe not so subtle.
Real quick tangent. I was in a Dunkin' Donuts in New Hampshire with my wife not too long ago, maybe 6 or 7 months ago. And you know those memes where it's they don't stop coming and they don't stop coming and it just keeps playing it over and over again? Some kid had like taken the aux cord in the Dunkin' Donuts and was playing that. It just kept saying and they don't stop coming. And I looked at him and laughed and he looked at me like, you get it. It was amazing.
That's rad. Nice.
So that's why I brought that up, because I knew you were going to tell that story.
Exactly. Nerdvoyance, boys and girls. That's what we do. But yeah, Twan, who do we have tonight?
Yeah, we had Tom Higgenson. So Tom is the front man of Plain White T's. You know them from multiple massive chart-topping hits from the last, well, they've been a band since 1997. And a lot of people, I don't think, realize that. And we kind of get into that in the conversation. But Plain White T's are OGs. Like, they predate probably most of your favorite bands and maybe some of your favorite bands' favorite bands. And then he's also the label owner for Humans Were Here record label. So that's a project that he started back in 2017. We dig into that a lot of great nuggets in there. And what else do we talk about?
I mean, so much. He's been around the industry for, like we said, since 97, 25 plus years, and, has been through the thick and the thin, has seen the indie label, has seen the major, has done the cog in the machine thing, which we talk about. So yeah, pretty cool stuff.
And a lot of exciting stuff that we talk about throughout. New releases from his label, maybe new stuff from the Plain White T's, shows. If you're Tom Higgenson, you're always busy, and you'll hear more about that real soon. So I think we're going to jump right into it. Here's Tom Higgenson, Plain White T's, Humans Were Here label. Let's go.
Do you have any questions for us? No one does, but maybe.
Yeah. What the hell? No, I guess not. Podio Slate. I like the name.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
Well, I like the punniness of it.
There you go.
Thanks.
I'm a huge Audio Slave fan. Not really, but I mean, they're obviously cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Just clever.
Cool.
Nice.
Thanks.
I'm into like goofy,
Tony right
clever things,
We try to be clever. It's just one of those things. We were kind of spitballing 3+ years ago when we started this, and like, what's fun? That could be fun. That works. So, and now we're tied to it forever.
Yeah.
Exactly. Kind of like the Plain White T's. It's like a band name, Mm-hmm. It's like you just kind of think, oh, that sounds kind of cool, and then next thing you know, 25 years later, you're stuck with it.
Yep, still there. Still, you're right. 26 now, right?
Oh, geez, yeah, I guess so.
Damn.
You don't want to be the artist formerly known as the Plain White T's, so you're not going to change it.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. That'd be interesting. You just wear black tees all the time now, and
well, that's what I mostly rock anyway.
Nice.
Black tees.
So ironic.
All right, we ready to go? I mean, that's all.
Oh, we're not going yet?
We're going. No, we're going.
It's all my best material here.
I will use some of that. Don't worry. That's not going anywhere. All right, cool. We were doing our prep earlier today and talking about who we've had on and how many people we've talked to over the course of the pod 3+ years. And,
you guys have done this before?
Yeah,
just a few times, thankfully.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is gonna be awesome.
We don't think we've had anybody with a #1 song in the States. We've had a #1 album. Frank Turner had a #1 album after we talked to him in the UK. And we had Nick Wheeler of the All American Rejects, and they've had some songs that got close, but never anybody that had a #1 song. So hey, you're the first, I think.
It's a
for
mic
us.
drop to open this.
What an honor. What an honor, you guys.
We've made it, is what I'm saying. We finally made it.
Because of you.
Rub it elbows.
Well, you know, it's a big honor. I don't take that lightly. So I'll try to be Nick Wheeler. He's a pretty good dude. So I'm going to try to be as entertaining as him. I make no promises, but I'll do my best.
To tangent just from the start here, Nick was awesome. We talked to him a couple summers ago, and similar kind of some story there where you guys Midwest, getting together late 90s ish, early 2000s ish time frame for both. And we're from the East Coast. All three of us are born and raised in Maine. Nate's living in Southern California now, and we've talked to a bunch of people that have kind of gone through the East Coast ringer, have gone through the SoCal ringer, but not a ton of people from the Midwest area. And you're from the Midwest, right? You're from Illinois.
Yeah.
Tell us about growing up with music and doing that in the Midwest, and how that kind of came to be for you.
Well, I have a question. How far? You guys are up in Maine, you said, or you're from Maine?
Yep.
Because I'm getting a bit of a Canadian. You keep saying a boat. Like there's a little bit of a Canadian thing going on.
I've never had anybody say that to me, and I know I've heard people to say that about other Mainers, but I didn't think I had an accent. So nice. All right, cool.
How's Illinois, eh?
Yeah. Speaking of Chicago, I feel like I kind of have when we first started going to California. People would say, because I'd say my name is Tom, and people in California are like Tom. They'd say it like Tom. I'm like Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. So I guess I didn't. That was the first time I ever knew that I had a little bit of a Chicago accent or something. But anyway, yeah, coming up in Chicago, it was really great. I mean, I guess I didn't know any differently, but in being one of the big, the third biggest city in the country, I guess, arguably, I guess maybe San Francisco might be, New York, LA, Chicago. It's definitely one of the big ones, right? So when I was younger and like getting into music, like every band that I loved came through Chicago. Chicago's a great music city. So I just got kind of spoiled and was able to go see literally, like I saw Weezer on the Blue album. I saw them come through Chicago. I saw, you name it back, and No Doubt on one of their first like tours on Tragic Kingdom. I don't know. It was constantly every band that like had a song on the radio. It was like, oh, I'm going to go see that. Or like this in summer, there'll be like some festival that like 10 of them are at or something, So it's just a really great place to come up being a music fan. And that being said, similarly, there was a lot of great venues and smaller venues and stuff. So being a band, being able to kind of break into the Chicago scene, I don't want to say like it wasn't difficult, because obviously we worked our asses off, but like we had the opportunities. There was a lot of great venues, always shows happening. There was a really strong community of bands I'm actually from the suburbs of Chicago, technically. So like all the different suburbs had like their own little scene. And so we'd like make friends with all of these other cool bands from around, our area. And so we'd all play shows together and all really like, kind of almost just piggyback off each other and like help really build a strong scene. Actually, it's funny, just the other day, literally 2 nights ago, my friends Lucky Boys Confusion. I don't know. Do you guys know that band at all? Yep. Okay, cool. Yep. Yeah, not a lot of people outside the Midwest know them, but they're like local legends. And so we came up, literally, we started our band, Plain White T's and Lucky Boys Confusion started the exact same summer back in 97. So we were like, they were one of our first like bros that like we'd always play shows with around Chicago. And it was just a really magical time, back in those days, like the 90, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, everybody was just, it was amazing. And so then we got I don't know how far you want me to go with the Chicago story, but then we got signed to our first record deal with a super small at the time independent label called Fearless Records. And that was able to get us a booking agent. And then we got the hell out of Chicago and just we're basically on tour pretty much for like the next 8 years, like solid. Yeah, that's kind of like the fast version of the story. But yeah, obviously Chicago always amazing, and coming back and playing always amazing. I still, spend most of my time here. I'm here right now. So yeah, I love Chicago always.
What's interesting about Plain White Tees is I think the casual fan, I don't think realizes you guys go back to 97. Like we're talking pre-Fall Out Boy, we're talking pre-Rise Against, because I know Fall Out Boy's from Chicago. I think Rise Against is as well.
Yeah.
You guys are OGs. Like who else was in that early scene besides like Lucky Boys?
Yeah, there was a band. You guys heard the band Mest?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They're Chicago. They were right around that same time. The Academy is from Chicago. Excuse me. Let's see. Spittlefield. I don't know if you guys know them.
Love the way she said LA, I think.
Oh, hell yeah. And then there's actually, so our very first show, do you guys know that? Okay, John Feldman, the producer, singer of Goldfinger. He's the one that produced Mest. He produced The Used. He produced Story of the Year. And then now he's done Panic at the Disco and 5 Seconds of Summer. And he's a great, super successful, amazing guy and producer. But the first band he ever produced was a band called Show Off. I don't know if you guys know Show Off, but they were like the OG punk scene band. And I went to high school with those guys. So the very first shows that Plain White Tees ever played were with Show Off. And then they like really quickly like kind of blew up in Chicago. Like I said, they got, John Feldman signed them to like a production deal. They did their album. They got signed to Madonna's label, Maverick, and they put the album out, and it just kind of tanked, and they just kind of fell apart. Nothing ever really happened. That was actually the story more so than none. I mean, Fall Out Boy, obviously, they killed it. But like bands like Lucky Boys, bands like Show Off, there was a lot of even the Academy is kind of blew right past us, and then just kind of came back down a little bit, as we just kept kind of chugging away. And like our path to success was a lot slower for whatever reason than a lot of these other bands. But luckily we were able to really connect with a few songs, so I think the longevity, works in our favor. So it's like, slow and steady wins the race, they say, I guess, And again, you got to stop me because you asked me like a 1-sentence question. I've been talking for like 5 minutes. I feel like our time's up already. So.
People clicked on this to listen to you, not us. So
hey.
Exactly.
That's when the good stuff happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, we go on like tangent marathons on this podcast. So
yeah, I was gonna say it's like the good stuff happens in the middle of the ramble when I'm thinking like, wait, what was I talking about again?
So I'm thinking like the Chicago scene there. That's like it's such a city phenomenon. Like you're going to these gigs anyway, and there's like that kind of perfect alignment of like venues. I'm trying to think Chicago. You have, is it the Cubby Bear and then the Metro?
Oh yeah.
And then House
Cubby
of
Bear
Blues.
And yeah, Metro, honestly, that's where I was just the other night, 2 nights ago. That's nice. That was when I was coming up, my favorite. Actually, when I first started going to shows, House of Blues wasn't even a venue yet. I love House of Blues. But like back in the day, it was like I'd be at the Metro almost like I said, like every weekend, I feel like. And it's funny little story. I would like every time I'd see a show at the Metro, after the concert was over, I would have to, before I left, I would like go up to like the little, and by the way, the Metro is like the size of this room I'm in. It's like a tiny, I mean, it fits like 1,000 people, but you wouldn't know it because it's like all like narrow and just real small. But at the end of every show I'd go see, I would walk up to like the little, the gate, the rail or whatever, and I'd reach out and I'd touch the stage to like, kind of just like soak up whatever the energy was on there that I just saw or something. And it was literally like when I started playing like and making songs like for Plain White Tees, one of my first big goals was that like someday I'm going to play the Metro. And we achieved that goal. We were only a band for like a year or so before we were able to play there, which was really cool.
I was going to say like a week later.
Yeah, exactly. No, not quite, but it was pretty quick. It was Metro was always really, really good to us.
That's
coming
cool.
up.
And I mean, we can relate to having those types of places that are just like your home, your place when it comes to music fandom, music nerdery. We have the State Theater in Portland, Maine, which is a place that we've all been to a million times, and every time I'm in there, I feel the same but different at the same time. It's like I don't, the energy is always there, and yeah, so that's pretty cool to finally like have that happen, and you're a band for a year, and to get to make that, you spoke it into existence, felt it into existence by going up and touching the stage. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. As I'm telling you this story, I kind of like, I don't know about you guys. I mean, again, it's still like I went to the Metro 2 nights ago and it was still, you got that instant, like, just nostalgia and the energy and everything. You feel it just the same as I did when I was 15, for sure, walking into that place. But I gotta say, that feeling, thinking about myself as a kid, and like I said, like touching the stage and just like being like I don't know, I kind of miss that like, I don't know, what do you call that, not excitement, but just like I don't know that I do things like that anymore, or what I mean, I don't know that things like, what do I want in life bad enough, or it's like, I don't know, I almost feel like the more we've all lived, it's like, not that that's not cool anymore, but it's like I'm just so like, oh, cool. I've been to thousands, literally, of shows, so it's not like my first year of going to concerts where it was like, oh my God, I can't believe this exists, right? Like live music, it was so amazing. Now I think I maybe take it a little bit for granted. But yeah, telling you guys that story makes me think like I'm doing some like, deep dive here. Like, what the hell?
Some soul searching. Nice.
Yeah,
You got to
like
come
what's
up with something new. You need a
what's
new
making me
like.
that happy now, right? Or that like excited?
I mean, we're always looking for that stuff, right? And we that's why we started this. Is let's put some energy into something that we all love, and maybe we'll talk to Tom someday.
Well, hey, we can all quit today. This is it. It's all culminated, right? Is that the word? I was gonna say, not to I'm sure you guys have questions, but the one, if I could segue, I started a record label called Humans Were Here right before the pandemic, which was excellent timing, obviously. But that is one thing where, we're talking about things that still excite me. I mean, that's one thing. I'm not going and touching any stages, but that's something where I feel really just that's kind of new territory for me. It's unexplored territory. So I've been doing music forever. I've been in the industry and in the business forever, but to actually kind of be responsible for finding talent, developing it, helping write, produce, and then get it out there and then try to promote it and figure out ways to get people to listen to it. That's like a brand new thing for me. So I'm sure you guys were probably going to ask about that anyway. So maybe we could talk about that a little bit. I don't know. That's like the most fresh and exciting thing going on probably right now with me.
Well, I think that's interesting because you've done the musician thing, not to discount the musician thing. You've done the producer thing. Now record label owner. So like one day you don't own a record label and then one day you do. So was this an idea coming for a while, or were you just like, you know what, I'm just gonna fucking go for it?
So what's funny is like it kind of was a thought for a long time, because here's the thing, and a lot of my friends, obviously a lot of us are like songwriters and stuff, and so I have a lot of friends that aren't in bands or aren't artists themselves. They're just songwriters. They'll like do sessions every day, work with different artists. And I mean, no joke, these buddies of mine, they literally write every day. They will write 100 songs, have 100 sessions before like they get one cut, and that means a cut obviously is like when somebody records your song and it gets put out, right? So it's like that, and that to me is not, I have no interest in like just that grind. And like, I feel like everything that I write, whether it's amazing or not, it's cool enough to like, man, I want people to hear this. I mean, there's even for Plain White T's, I mean, there's usually we'll write at least 20 or 30 songs for a 10 to 12 song album. So there's definitely songs that don't make it, but like imagine working half of a year and having like one or two songs come out. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
soul crushing. So I just basically didn't want to do that. So for a while when I was writing and songs would never come out or whatever, it was like, man, in the back of my mind, it was like, I should just can start a label, and then I can have some say in it. At least I can, get these songs out there that I write with artists. I can write with artists that I genuinely click with and I believe in. I can write, with people that I have fun with, and like I can kind of have say on what songs, help out with the process of like what is good enough to make it and what are we putting out and everything. So yeah, in the back of my mind, it was kind of kicking around for a while, but it wasn't until I came up with the name Humans Were Here that it actually felt like, okay, I'm ready. That was kind of the last piece of the puzzle, because that was kind of important to me to try to come up with something that felt like cool and important enough and interesting enough. Would I want to be on a label that called Humans Were Here? If I was just somebody, would I be, would that intrigue me, that name? Would I want to look into that? That kind of thing. So yeah, once I had the name, it pretty much was like, okay, time to start the label.
Yeah, then it became real, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's pen to paper. Let's make this thing happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're looking for these artists that you click with and to have, some say in some of the songwriting stuff, are you looking for somebody like brand new up and coming, or are you like finding people that are semi-established? How does that work? What do you do there?
Okay, so I've kind of worked with a little bit of both. I personally, I mean, I'm a weirdo. Like, I would almost rather, like, I find it more exciting if somebody is like kind of like completely unheard of. Like if I'm kind of maybe seeing something that like no one else is seeing right now. I think that kind of does it for me. We did work with this one artist. Her name was Jessica Jarrell, and she was amazing. She actually toured with Justin Bieber way back, like in his super early, one of his first tours. So she was signed to like Interscope or something, and was dropped. And so I was working with her a little bit, which was really nice because she had kind of a built-in fan base. But there was also like she wasn't really ready to kind of roll up her sleeves and just do everything it takes, you know what I mean? And just really dedicate herself to it. I think just because she was signed at such a young age and just probably early on had everything kind of handed to her. So she'd never had to grind, And obviously coming from the Plain White Tees and like the indie scene, it's all about the grind and it's all about the hard work and, getting out there. So although she had, like I said, a great fan base, it didn't really click, So yeah, I like the idea of finding somebody that's a little rough around the edges and maybe like not something you would expect, and kind of making people kind of be like, oh, huh, that's cool. Or, like maybe people making them like, not confuse them for a second, but like surprise people,
Man, I feel like owning a record label is if you're in a band, like the perfect cheat code. Like you're not going to break up your band and try to start all these different projects that have no sound like your day job, but you can kind of dabble with these people and do your thing.
Dude, that's the best part. Yeah, you totally nailed it. Like with Plain White Tees, like we've tried, we've kind of like experimented a little bit with like, we made an album in 2000, it came out in 2018 called Parallel Universe. That was because I was kind of getting into like 80s stuff and like Stranger Things and everything. So we went a little like synthy on our last album. And because of that, it's like, okay, well, I think people kind of want Plain White Tees to be Plain White Tees. It's like you buy Diet Coke, you want it to be Diet Coke. You don't want some like, I mean, once in a while you want like Diet Coke vanilla or something, but for the most part, you want Diet Coke. So, Plain White Tees, it's like, okay, we know what we are, but I love freaking all these other kinds of music. So yeah, I think, was that Nate that said that? Like you totally nailed it. Yeah. Like, having a bunch of these different artists to work with. And by the way, because of that Plain White Tees album, Parallel Universe, I actually started a solo project called Million Miler that is on the label, of course, but is like complete nostalgic, just drowning in like synth, like throwback, like I don't know, it's like a passion project. So yeah, without having a label, I probably would have been like I would have never done something like that for fun. But yeah, there's a bunch of artists that yeah I get to kind of do some pop stuff, do some harder stuff, and everything in between. It definitely makes it fun, and then it takes a little bit of the like edge off of like writing for Plain White Tees all the time, because then coming back to Plain White Tees, it's like, okay, cool. I got all that stuff out of my system. Now I'm ready to just strip it down and just, write some tees stuff again.
I like the variation because, like, I remember back in the day, Fueled by Ramen, obviously massive label, but it got to a point where when they signed a new band, it was like, do I want to hear another Panic at the Disco? So I wouldn't even check them out. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even check it. But then, like, like Victory was all over the map, and now like Pure Noise Records all over the map. That's what I love about them. So that's a cool thing that you can do, right? You just said 80s synth pop, female solo artists. That must be a cool part of it.
I mean, I'm just such a fan of songs and music in general that like I love. There's not one, like, honestly, I don't listen to like acoustic rock music. You know what I mean? It's like I love it when like the Beatles will do like an acoustic song. Like Yesterday is my favorite song of all time. But for the most part, I like stuff that's like way harder and way different and like outside of the box, which you wouldn't expect, hearing Plain White Tees music. So yeah, it's really fun for me to just kind of be able to just do a bunch of different things.
You're speaking our language because I mean, you're the third, I think, conversation in a row, and we went from a hardcore drummer to a metalcore vocalist to you, and there's a just variation across the board, but we love all of it. Like I have 311 over my left shoulder and a bunch of metal bands over my right shoulder. Like I love it all.
Nice.
Give it.
I
Give
bet
it
you
to us.
All the metal kids are listening to Plain White Tees. That's how
They
it
probably,
goes.
yeah, yep.
Speaking of metal, by the way, there's a band called One Life. Okay, they are just a dumb quick story. They're one of the bands on the label that we're almost done with the record, finishing it up in the next couple weeks. And they're an older band, actually from that Chicago scene I was talking about earlier. They were like a band, but they were only a band for like 2 years, and they split up. The singer went to law school, and they couldn't keep it together. But they were like legit my favorite band in the scene, and kind of like period, like outside of the scene. Like they were like Jimmy Eat World meets The Used meets like Iron Maiden or something. It's like
Wow.
metal Jimmy Eat World, like with a little bit of like screamo thrown in. They're so good. And so basically, here's another cool thing about the record label. Like having a label kind of made, because I'm still in touch with all those guys, and it was kind of like, yo, like, you remember all those fucking amazing songs that we've been listening to for 20 years on a shitty like CD recorded from the live show you did at whatever? It's like, why don't we like record them for real, like 20 years later, basically? So we're doing that. And that's like something where this is one of like literally like the greatest bands you've never heard of, fucking incredible songs. And like, I'm going to you because of, me, and not that I'm taking credit or anything, but like, because I had this crazy idea to do a record label. Now these songs are going to get out there and people are going to hear them, whether that's 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people, who knows, but just doing it, getting it out there, that's what's important. And like, that would have never happened without the label. So that was just a shameless plug for One Life, because I love them so much. They're so amazing.
We're down. We're down for that.
Hell yeah.
I'm curious. So like the label has afforded you to do that, and clearly for you to execute that, like you're probably good at it, right? So I'm curious, for someone that has been in the game for 25 years, the T's have been signed to indie, to Fearless, to major. That there's some nuggets of wisdom you've gained over the years. Like what do you think has helped you the most?
You would think there would be some knowledge gain.
You're like,
but,
there is not. It's actually a
I
detriment.
don't know. Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny because I've seen, geez, ups and downs like crazy, I will say, one of the crazy things that I saw, like, so we were signed to Fearless, which was a really small label when we started, like I said, but they were kind of growing as we were growing, which was really nice. But the moral of the story is, Hey There Delilah, the same exact version that was on the radio and that is, multi 6 times platinum and a billion streams almost, whatever, was released on Fearless Records and we sold 80,000 copies, So it's like that was the biggest thing for me, was just seeing the actual, like, literally difference between like an indie label and a major label. Because a major label was able to take that same exact, we can call it product, the same video, the same song, the same master, and turn it into a global smash that Fearless could not have done, at that time, especially. So that's kind of one of the biggest things. And, I don't necessarily, money, a big staff, radio department, that all along with our momentum coming off of Fearless and just touring relentlessly and, having fans just connecting with people and people already knowing that song and loving that song. So when it did hit radio, it was, it had momentum behind it. It was like the perfect storm. But like, as far as the labels go, that was my big takeaway. There definitely did seem to be a ceiling on an indie that was not there on a major. Then again, okay, let's reverse it. Then as soon as after, so then we had we followed up Hey There Delilah. We had another hit with 1 2 3 4, and then another hit with Rhythm of Love, and then the next album we were making on Hollywood was like the owner of the president of the label, this guy Bob Cavallo, music industry legend. He managed Prince. He managed Alanis, the Loving Spoonfuls. Like, the guy's been in the business forever. So he retired when we were making the album after the one that had Rhythm of Love, our biggest, or our third hit, whatever. So this change of regime in Hollywood, it was like the new president was all about like numbers. So it was like, cool, Plain White T's, they've had 3 hits on 3 albums in a row, but we spent this much, and so the next album didn't even get put out on Hollywood. We ended up getting dropped because, just literally because of a different person being in charge and him wanting to run the label a different way. So that's something. And by the way, then guess what we did is we put the album out ourselves and then signed back to Fearless for the next album.
Wow,
so,
that's cool.
And, and now there's a loyalty there with Fearless. It's a little bit more like, because maybe expectations aren't so crazy. It's more about, Plain White T's, that's our boys. We have a history with them. So we're going to like believe in them and we're going to keep making records with them. It's a little bit, not that I'm sure they're worried about bottom lines and all that stuff, but there's just a little bit more freedom and leeway, I think, on an independent label than the major that we saw.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's the major labels, the big labels, they have that huge infrastructure and all that money behind stuff, but they need to see it come back or they're going to say, see ya. They're all investments, right? They don't look at you necessarily as people in that situation, which when you go back to the, Fearless and the indie and you've got a relationship and it's, it's a handshake and it's that type of stuff. It's awesome that you had both because you get to experience it all and bring that to your the Humans Were Here situation. But
and so that's what I try to bring is like, I want to do, like I said, work with people. Like if somebody's an asshole, but they're like super talented, kind of like, well, that's okay. You'll figure it out. Like you'll find your home somewhere. It's like wanting to work with people that I actually like care about and like, not only as, what music they're doing, but as people too. So yeah, it's a little bit more, it's less about like I don't want to be like label mogul. I just want to like make cool music with cool people. So that's Humans Were Here is a way of doing that, and kind of doing it on my own terms, I guess, and hopefully helping these amazing people that I work with find a lane and get out, or help them get out there and start making a name for themselves.
It's kind of like working for a major beer producer and being like, actually, I'm going to start a craft brewery and just collab with your friends all the time and just have fun.
Totally. Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. Almost like a startup or something where it's like, oh, I got this crazy idea. Cool. Let's dedicate a few years, and go out of pocket. I mean, I'm not making obviously any money from, all these, doing all these productions and producing records and making, all that stuff. But again, kind of like being in the band, like we had to work for like 10 years before we started seeing any real profit. But then when the profit came, obviously it was huge because we had hit songs and stuff. So it was like, that's kind of my belief with the label. It's like, do the right thing, make great music, figure it out as we go. Hopefully we'll get smarter and smarter the more we fail, or the more we learn each time, each song we put out, each album we put out will hopefully just be better and better and bigger and bigger. And then eventually, at some point, something is going to hit, and then it's going to make it all worth it.
Well, and even if it doesn't, you've made music with your friends, you've put out some cool stuff, you've had these relationships. Like at the end of the day, you've got that, at least that, which is awesome. I mean, for me, that would be.
But it will.
Yeah, it will. Good point. Good point. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, thing is that the consumers of music.
I feel bad. Like I just shut you down or something.
No.
I was
honestly,
trying to be very optimistic. Like, you have to think that you're doing. I mean, obviously, you are 1,000,000% right, because what it's all about is having an awesome time with people that you like and putting out kick-ass music. That is 100% what it's all about. But
we were both being optimistic in different ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I feel like I said it in a way of like, you're wrong and I'm right, and I did not.
I got you. Wrong. No hard feelings.
You just gotta always believe it, and sometimes you look like an idiot when that happens, but then eventually sometimes you manifest it and it happens. I tell you what, you will never be successful if you don't believe you can be successful.
True. I would agree with that. Absolutely. Nate, he said manifest. You got to jump in, man.
Oh, shit. Well, I mean, because you kind of came up in the 90s scene, it seems like this is almost like it's just a full circle moment, because in the 90s, that's how it was done. You go to a show, you get a cassette from the band, they hand it to you. You don't find it online. You don't find it. Obviously, some of these bands merged to a major, but I'm just thinking of Chicago in particular. You had like Tom Morello came out of there, right?
Yeah. I mean, that literally was me. That's what I would do. I would go to every local show. Like when we had a local show coming up, I would go to every show of every band that like I liked, and I would be standing outside. It doesn't matter if it's the dead of winter. I'd be outside passing out flyers or passing out, literal demo cassette tapes and all that stuff. Just like, come to our show. Hey, come to our show. And then, walk to my car and see half the flyers I gave to people on the floor, on the ground on the way to the car. But still, I mean, it's like I was all about that. So yeah.
Well, and then a few of them hang on to it, and then the next time a few more hang on to it, and then the next time they're all hanging on to it, or you have that hit pop off. So yeah.
Exactly. And then people say, "Oh, I remember that guy used to stand outside shows." Like, yeah, no wonder he made it. He was always working hard. It's like, it's not rocket science. You gotta do it. You gotta believe it.
You don't just stumble out of bed and write number one songs. It doesn't happen that way.
Exactly.
You gotta grind. You gotta grind it out.
I mean, some people do, but they have a team of writers. So
I know those bastards.
Well, people remember that, whether it's handing out flyers, but it's that human connection. I know that's I'm seeing a lot of through lines here to the name of the label, but a lot of my favorite labels, I know the owners. Like they've never put out not personally, but I know who they are and I know their story, and it just adds. It's like the local local mom and pop shop. There's a connection there because you converse with them and you know the intention. That goes a long way. You have a major where people are coming and going. It loses its soul. It loses its identity. And that goes a long way.
Absolutely. And I feel like the older I get too, the more I can like kind of just see through that bullshit sometimes, like, or maybe not like it's like a see through it, but like I think the less I'm interested in that, as I get older. I'm not really too into like blockbuster movies or, I mean, it's like the summer movies, I'm like kind of skip those and give me like the A24 weirdo shit. It's like I'd rather, and music as well. It's like, obviously I think pop music that's on the radio is pretty fucking awesome. A good song is a good song. But like when I'm turning music on, it's like, okay, what's weird? I'm in like super into like hyper pop right now and like 100 gecs and underscores and just stuff that's like I've never heard before and that I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy, but it's so catchy and it's, so good. So yeah, I'm not really like putting on like, the Doja Cat record or something, even though she's awesome. Just like I'm sure the Marvel movies are awesome, but like I don't know, I'm kind of finding it more interesting, more interesting things outside of the box.
Well, you feel like you're being sold a product, because it's like
Right.
the crushing new single from this band. It's like, is this a movie ad? Like, is this the
Let me
the
decide
movie
if it's
preview
crushing.
guy? Is this the
Right.
from director John?
Yeah, crushing my soul is what it's
You're
doing.
crushing my soul. Give me the aux cord.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and a lot of that pop music, like you said, is great and it's catchy and there's a place for it for a lot of people, but it's kind of everywhere. Like you can't, even if you aren't putting it on, it. And that happens to me all the time. I'm like, oh, I know that Doja Cat song, or I know that, Taylor Swift song, because it's just everywhere. I can't get away.
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't ever have to put it on because you're going to hear it anyway,
But if you're the creator, that must be freaking amazing.
Oh,
I mean, you know,
I mean,
you're from your experience,
Well, so the year that, the summer that Delilah was really big and blowing up on the radio, I can say I don't think I may have heard it once, like in an airport walking through, like playing out of a store, because we were literally just so busy that summer. Like we were flying, like our average day was like, cool, like wake up in a city, get picked up for morning radio by like our major label radio reps that were all over the country. We'd go get picked up, go to morning radio, sing a really terrible version of the song because you just woke up and you can't sing yet, feel like a total asshole, and then go maybe get taken out to lunch by the radio guy as he's telling you what we have for the rest of the day, going to at least one or two more stations, and then doing like some kind of sound check party at the gig we're at. And then it's like going backstage and trying to take like an hour or two of just maybe falling asleep in a chair or something backstage, waking up, getting ready, playing the show, getting on, taking like a red eye flight to the next city, trying to sleep on the plane, landing, and then just like getting picked up by the radio guy in that city and like doing it all again. Like literally for 2 months straight. We all joke that it like took years off of our lives because it was like just so nonstop and so not sleeping. And I mean, like I said, after a while, it's like, I'm going to like, this is going to make you stop playing the song because I'm going to sing it so shitty right now because I just can't even talk. It's like it was a rough time, but it was awesome. And we did the work and we got the song to number 1. And it's like, I wouldn't change any of it, but yeah, I forget again in my ramblings, what the question was or where that came from, but
I'm not even sure there was one.
The creator of the song as it's blowing up yeah, so everybody else around me was like, "Oh my god, I hear it everywhere. I hear it on the, it's on the radio and this is," and we're like, "Well, that's awesome." But luckily, we didn't have to hear it everywhere. Well, we were playing it
I was
8
saying, you
times
play
a
it
day.
once a night. Like that's
Yeah.
Once a morning
Yeah.
and once a night.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, literally, I was playing the song at least 5 or 6 times a day. Which, hey, luckily, I like the song, so it could be worse, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you were cogs in the machine. I mean, you were literally a piece of it every day. You had to do that and get put into the machine and spit back out and do it again the next place.
By the way, I will say that I knew Doja Cat. I'd heard of her before she blew up or anything. She was fucking grinding and doing her thing for a long time before she started having hits. So by me saying, using her as an example, like I really do like Doja Cat and I think she's great. And she definitely paid her dues. She definitely came up and worked her ass off to get where she is.
Well, you
As,
have
by
to.
the way, did everybody, I'm sure. Everybody's got
have
their
to.
story, exactly. So I'm not discrediting any of the art, but, again, I don't know. Some stuff that you do kind of feel, though, is being sold to you.
Yeah.
I don't think Doja
They're
Cat feels
industry
like
plants,
that,
right? They're bands that are formed and made and songs that are formed and made to do that. But obviously, you guys were kicking around for 10 years before that happened, or 7, 8 years before that happened. So it's not how that works. And it sounds as most people weren't. They were grinding and doing their thing, and then finally something hit for them because hard work pays off.
Yep.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. If someone was born on third base, the music sounds like it was born on third base.
I like that. Born on third base. But also, hang on, I will say, and again, I'm just kind of contradicting myself left and right here, but if like somebody is just a product and the fucking song, like, I don't know Chumbawamba's backstory, but like, I don't care. Give me that song all day long. It's fun as hell. Or like, Spice Girls, like, cool, fucking fun. It's like, all the shit I'm saying is just kind of bullshit because it's like at the end of the day, if something's cool and if something like gets your head going or makes you feel a certain way, like who cares about any of the backstory, and that's kind of the beauty of art, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be Picasso, you can be, Banksy, or you can be, whatever. Like you could make stick figures and somebody be like, this is fucking brilliant,
Yeah.
So it's all so subjective, and I don't know. So I don't want to talk shit about anything because any creativity is a good thing.
Yeah, and you're not, if it doesn't hit with you, there's so many other things you can go and listen to, but you don't have to begrudge somebody for liking something that maybe you don't like.
Totally.
And we're not even saying that we don't like any of this stuff. This is just a matter of there's enough out there, right? And everybody is trying and putting something together that they're working at it. And if you got fans for it, and there's no guilty pleasure here. It's just it's good or it's not. You like it, you don't like it, whatever. We move on.
Totally. That's the fun thing about having the label and working with these artists. It's like, okay, like there is an audience out there for this, like for example, that band One Life I was talking about. There is like 1,000,000% an audience that will love this. We just have to kind of figure out, aside from writing the songs, recording the songs, making them sound great, trying to come up with a cool music video concept and shooting that and making it awesome. We've just got to figure out how the hell to reach those people, that audience that will love this. There's another artist on the label, Fairview, and they're a boyfriend-girlfriend acoustic duo, beautiful freaking harmonies, and they just basically have these love songs to each other, and it's really cute and pretty. Like, there's an audience for that, 100%. But how do we find it? So that's one of my main struggles, just doing the label, is that I don't really, that's the hard part. Like making a beautiful song, I kind of, knock on wood, every few songs, I got that in the bag. But like, how do you get it out there without standing outside, passing out flyers in the freezing cold? It's like, how do you do that now that's a different story. So that's what we're really trying to figure out. Anyway, again, I'm going on these tangents.
No, this is awesome. Well, I think
It's so good. Yeah.
you're in a unique position where you've played, I looked it up, probably 1,500 shows minimum with the Tees. So you played that. So you've, seen the live thing.
Yeah, what year was that? I remember that year.
I love that.
No, we were definitely doing 300 shows a year for, at least 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
Like we
Jesus.
weren't
So
home
it's over
at all.
probably 3,000. So,
Yeah.
so not only are you guys playing that, but there's openers. So you have the luxury, or in some cases not luxury, of seeing all these other musicians. So like, what hits, what doesn't, you know what I mean? You're a songwriter. So I think that would be a unique differentiator for you as, the king at the top of Humans Were Here. But like you said, that's only half of it. You can recognize the talent, but you got to get it out there. It's got to connect with people. There's optics of a band that are very key. How do you market it?
Mm-hmm.
That's an uphill battle.
And I certainly don't claim to be good at any of that. So that's the biggest struggle right now. So, but again, I think making the music is an important part of it, and we're good at that. So it's like we can do that, and then we're going to figure out, like I said earlier, we're going to make some mistakes on the way. We're going to, figure it out as we go, and eventually just steamroll this thing into success. And if we don't, then at least we'll have fun doing it. You know what I'm saying?
No, you're going to. I'm going to stop you right there.
Thank you.
You're going
Yes.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
All right. So Plain White Tees, we've talked a little bit about it. We haven't talked a ton about it because we've been talking about the label, but you have a new song coming, I think, a couple of days after this is released, and maybe an album and a couple other things going on. What's going on with the band?
Yeah, well, it's been really fun. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about the label, which is been amazing, and I love the diversification. But it all comes back to the Tees in some way. The Tees are like that's my baby, and it's been a really, how do I say, it's been a very rewarding process this last year and a half or so of writing for the Plain White Tees. I feel like maybe because, like we were talking about, because of the label and getting to write getting it all out of my system, and then being able to come back and really write purely from the heart for Plain White Tees, it really feels like we've made an album that feels like the early stuff. Not necessarily,
Nice.
Our earlier stuff was a little bit more pop punk. We didn't necessarily, there's definitely a few doses of that in there, but just in the just the vibe, just like the honesty, the hope. I think all of that stuff that people really loved about Plain White Tees, I think this album is full of that stuff. So I'm really excited about it. Like you said, we've got a song coming out. You said this is probably going to air around May 22nd ish.
Yep.
We've got a song coming out on, I believe, May 24th. Now, the only reason I say I believe is because I think that's on a Wednesday, so we might have to double check that, but definitely in the next few days, there's a new Plain White Tees song called Happy coming out, and it's a bop. It's a fun one. And we're doing a bunch of festivals this summer. We're playing, you mentioned Nick Wheeler earlier. We're playing with All American Rejects.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's in Kansas or something, some really fun festival. Yeah, great lineups. We're doing a show with Jimmy Eat World in June. I want to say Taking Back Sunday might be on that same show. And then, the When We Were Young Fest, which is going to be huge in October.
Yeah, late
in
October.
Las Vegas. Yeah, that's like that. I can't believe those shows are real. Like I saw when they announced those lineups, it's like, what? Like when they announced that first one, weren't you guys like, this is fake, right? This is not.
There's a lot of that. There was a lot of that.
That's exactly what we did. We were like, this can't be real.
One day? How?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't go see it, so hopefully, we're playing it this year, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, I feel like we have like a 30 or 40 minute set. Like it's not like it's like real quick, so
Nice.
It's going to be great. But moral of the story is new Plain White T's music, feeling great about it. And the plan as of right now is for the album, the full length album, to come out right around that When We Were Young festival. So looking like an October release. We don't have a date yet. We don't have a title yet, but I can say that I really love it and I'm super proud and excited about it. And I think people are really going to connect with it.
That's awesome. And the timing, I mean, aligned with the festival. There's a resurgence for that scene too, so it's kind of perfectly aligned in that sense as well. And then additionally, like, you have your label, so connecting with a festival like that is really kind of a perfect pipeline for the label, right?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have street teamers there, passing out stickers, samplers, all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, especially now that you said that, now we have to, you know.
Yeah,
we need to get you on the team.
I've never done that. Dude, I'll go to Vegas. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's closer
Let's
for you,
go.
Nate.
Well, I'm thinking about like my days back in Warped Tour, and that's how I discovered a lot of some of the bands that are playing on When We Were Young. I first heard about them via samplers, like Finch. Warped Tour, 20 plus years ago on a sampler. You know what I mean? So, well, that's the thing is, you probably won't pass out samplers, not in this era. But
you'd be surprised.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like it. I like it.
Keep
when
your
those are when
eyes
those
and
are
ears open.
printed, pressed, whatever, we're gonna hit you up for one.
Hell yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the move. It's like just getting. I remember when we were on Warped Tour, like there would be bands that weren't even on Warped Tour that would come out and like play acoustic like in the parking lot, like
lost for words,
or like have their like CDs on like a little Discman and like be playing it for people like that are lined up waiting to get into the show. Like those things go so far. You know, you can post on TikTok, you can do that stuff, the online stuff all day long, and that obviously is a huge tool as well. But like there's nothing like a connection, like a face-to-face in-person connection, whether it's seeing a band live or, you know, like I said, just having some kind of interaction with them at a show, in line. Have you guys heard of that artist Alec Benjamin? Do you know him? He's a really great songwriter. He actually, I believe, I want to say, was just out with doing shows with John Mayer. Like he's blowing up big time. But he went, and I forget the artist. I want to say, I don't think it might have been Taylor Swift, but I forget. But he would like follow this tour of like some huge artists. I don't think it was Taylor. It might have been Ed Sheeran or, you know, one of those crazy huge artists. And he would go and just literally like busk outside the show, like before the show, like as people were in line. And he like had shit blowing up on Spotify because he was, you know, playing in front of 1,000 people a night.
That's
you
crazy.
know,
amazing.
That's smart.
waiting. Yeah, it's like genius. Like that's kind of like the equivalent, like we were saying, of like standing outside passing out flyers after the show. It's like just getting somebody seeing you in real life and having an experience with you. Like, you know, I feel like that will go farther. That's like the equivalent of like, you know, 1 million likes on Instagram or something, you know, like one like live experience. So
well, there's more to that too, right? Like you're with the click and like on Instagram, you're on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, where you're standing in line and someone's playing you, maybe you hear 3 songs and you're like, I kind of like 2 of those. I'm going to check that out. Yeah.
Right. And now you're going to follow that person. So you're going to get those likes anyway. But now if somebody, you know, somebody that, you know, just scrolling past and thinks, oh, this is cute, I'll follow it, rather than like, oh my God, I saw this. And now they're going to go tell their friends, oh, you got to follow this guy because I saw him and he was so good. And, you know, so yeah, definitely word of mouth and everything. It's like, it's all about the, you know, getting out there and doing it in person.
I think it's proof that sweat equity is still viable. Big time.
Oh yeah.
And maybe more now more than ever because everyone's attention is, like you said, just so spread out.
Yep. And everyone is doing it online anyway. So it's like to actually get out there, it's like the extra step, you know, goes a long way.
I mean, can you imagine that guy, you know, playing to the Warped Tour audience and going, here's my crushing new single? You'd be like, who is this guy? Who is this?
Like, follow, and subscribe.
Yeah, it's like there's no soul in that. I'm just being sold.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the bottom line is exciting times for you, right? I mean, you've stayed busy through the last 26 years.
Yeah, what's funny is I'm constantly like almost questioning myself. It's like, okay, because I feel like I'm always working, quote unquote. Luckily, my work is amazing and I love it, and it's not work, but I'm always keeping myself busy with writing and producing, and whether it's tease stuff, label stuff, solo stuff, whatever. And then I've got a 13-year-old son who is literally, you can throw everything we've talked this whole time about, throw that away because he's all that really matters. He's incredible. So then like there's no real like, I always like almost have this dream of like, oh, someday, man, I'll just, sit on an island out by the pool and just enjoy life and everything. But like I feel like I would do that for like 3 days and be like, okay, I'm bored. Like I got to write a song or I got to play. It's like you kind of, it's hard to find that balance because when I'm working, sometimes it's like all you want is that break. But then when you have a break, you're like, shit, I need to be doing this or that. So
The break can't be too long. The break can't be too long because you get bored.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You need to take the breaks, but yeah, I don't know. I think we're just crazy people that we just are always kind of like, yeah.
I think we're all crazy.
Working. I agree. Yeah. Crazy that we're putting ourselves out there and talking about life and music and all this stuff. It's all crazy, but
yeah,
it wouldn't really change a thing.
Instead of chilling on the beach with a pina colada, it's like, fuck,
why don't what are we thinking? Let's just all go.
I mean, we would all have FOMO. We'd all have FOMO. Like, fuck, dude, we could be geeking out right now.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Exactly.
Well, all that grinding early on has given you the opportunity and ability to even be bored now,
This is true. I should take that opportunity once in a while, a little bit more.
Yeah.
But like I said, just keep them short and then get right back into it because it's more fun to have that little break and then it's fun to get back into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that is one thing I will say. And this goes back to everything we've said all night. It's like, yeah, whether it's the label, whether it's the tease, whether it's time with my son, whether it's time just chilling, it's like, it's always something exciting happening and always something to look forward to, like, oh, this is awesome. But then next week I get to go play the show and play some festival with the Rejects. That's going to be awesome. And then it's like, cool, we've got this One Life song I'm so excited about coming out next week. Cool. And then next week it's like, oh, cool, I'm going to California with my son to hang out for a week. Cool. And, so it definitely is like a nonstop, amazing life, but still like everybody, I'm sure you're always kind of like questioning it and like trying to find that perfect balance, because you also don't want to be like, oh, I can't wait for that thing 2 months from now. You want to be like right now, like, dude, I'm so excited to be doing this podcast. And then whatever I'm going to do tonight, I want to be in that moment without thinking about what I have to do in a week or, so I think it's something just everybody struggles with, but we're all doing a pretty good job, I'd say.
Yeah. I like that.
Doing our best.
It's a good way to think about it. Well, Tom, really excited about all of the things coming from the tease, all of the things coming from Humans Were Here, and this conversation. It was a blast. Thank you.
Likewise, man. Awesome talking to you guys. I feel like, I did some soul searching in there. I'm going to leave this conversation a new man for sure.
That's what we do. We always say the podcast like avoids copays, right? We come here to geek out and we feel better at the end of the day.
Exactly.
It was a lot of fun, Tom. And go check out Humans Were Here, all the upcoming releases. Keep an eye out for new tease music. And Tom, thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, likewise, you guys.
Thank you for listening to Podio Slave. We are at Podio Slave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podio Slave Podcast. YouTube, Podio Slave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you. Your Instagram handle is awesome.
Thanks. That's actually it's a nickname, Higgy Pop, a nickname that our old sound guy gave me.
Nice.
And it was like, for whatever reason at that time, I was like, it's probably like the week I made an Instagram or something, and it was just like, oh, Higgy Pop, let's just do that. And then I never bothered to go back and change it or anything. So it just kind of stuck.
Do you watch Ted Lasso?
You know what? I don't. I hear it's really good though.
It is, and there's a guy I think in the show. I think his name is Higgins. They call him Higgy Pop every now and then, and I was like, I know I've heard that before. They owe you royalties, man.
And they credit you in the show. They say Tom from the T. See?
Yeah. Well, I need my royalties. That settles it.
I know, man. We got you. We'll put that piece at the end of the episode so people know.
Nice.